Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the podcast this evening. I'm David Cougar. Um, this week we are going to be taking a break from entertainment. I find that it's kind of hard to focus on entertainment issues when we just had a major tragedy down in Orlando, and um, we'll get into the Christina Grimmie incident as well. This week town of Orlando, the city of Orlando has had a very rough, rough week, to say the least. Um, so, first of all, let me begin by saying that um, I want to basically send out my heartfelt condolences to all of the families that lost somebody. So, if you're unaware of what's been going on the last week, about 3 years ago, there was a singer on The Voice. Her name was Christina Grimmie, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. And she had an absolutely amazing voice. And she actually finished third in her season. And so she was unfortunately gunned down um, coming out of a concert. And then her brother heroically uh, tackled the gunman, and they eventually ended up apprehending him. And then a few days later, we had the absolute worst tragedy that the United States has seen in countless years, and that is the incident that took down Pulse nightclub in Orlando. Which leads me to my podcast today, because this is a podcast that is going to be I don't more of a opinionated podcast. Um, so basically, there was, as everybody knows by now, there was a nightclub shooting at the Pulse nightclub in Orlando, and the shooter's name was Omar Makki, and he was in his late 20s, 28, 29, 30 years old, and so he went into this nightclub. It was a gay nightclub, which had maybe some established reason for it, and he began firing. And this incident, the whole incident lasted for about 3 hours. Um, and some of the reports coming out of the nightclub were pretty chilling as far as what transpired. He originally was thought that he had an AR-15, which is a very popular assault rifle here in the United States. But that wasn't the case. It was just an assault rifle, nonetheless. The total dead was 49 or 50, and 53 were wounded. And before the podcast ends this afternoon, what I'm going to do is I'm going to read the names of all the people that were lost. Not to take away that those that were wounded didn't endure the same suffering that those families that lost somebody, but I feel like I want to at least pay tribute to those families that did lose somebody. That being said, there was a lot of stuff that has been coming out about this incident and how he was able to obtain the weapons, and the days before it and why it was done. So let's go back a bit. ABC News is reporting that the owner of a nightclub, or the owner of a gun shop in Orlando, saw the suspect come in and purchase body armor and about 1,000 rounds of ammunition. And first of all, here's my question. If somebody's coming into a gun shop and they're purchasing 1,000 rounds, doesn't that raise red flags? Whatever the gun is, that's a bit excessive, I think. Don't you? That to me was the first red flag that I was a little astounded about. Um, Robert Abel was the co-owner of Lotus Gunworks in Jantzen Beach, and said the shop denied him the request because of the kind of body armor that was used by law enforcement. Now, if you're going into a gun shop and trying to get body armor, I think that would definitely raise a couple of red flags, and it did with this. Thank God it did with the shop owner, and basically, they said we can't sell it to you. I think also too that as I said before, 1,000 rounds is a little bit excessive. Um, so as the shooting was going on, this, by the way, like I said, this lasted 3 hours. It was a long, long time. I mean, SWAT and the FBI was out there trying to negotiate with them. It just didn't work. And so during the shooting, he pledged his allegiance to ISIS. And he actually called it, which I found ironic, trying to get more publicity for himself. He called a local television station and he said, look, I want publicity. You need to put me on television. You need to do something about this. And so he was married at one point, and his ex-wife believed that he was ill. He was mentally ill. And I mean, that's going to get into a whole other thing down the road, which I'll speak about a little bit later. But I mean, they're going back now and they're finding that this guy had problems in middle school and high school. He would get into fights. He had, he's an alpha dog. He was type A, aggressive behavior, the whole 9 yards. So, but this was never found out. This only gets brought into light until after the fact. That being said, as I said, Mateen's ex-wife believed she was mentally ill. And I want to talk about this because, over the past 5 or 6 years, 7 years, since Obama's been in office, he's had to put the flag at half-staff 66 times. Now you say, oh my God, this is including holidays, Memorial Day, Veterans Day, Flag Day. So I don't want you to think. But in the time that he has been in office, there has been an unbelievable amount of mass shootings. And you say, well, what constitutes as a mass shooting? A mass shooting constitutes as one or more victims, okay, with dire consequences. So if 3 or 4 people die, yes, that is considered a mass shooting, okay. That being said, we've had in 5 or 6 years these mass shootings and the ones that get publicized are the ones that are really horrific. And Aurora, Newtown, all of these other ones. I can go on for hours about this. But that being said, I think, we as a country, the biggest problem in this country is our mental health system. And I say that because I have had experience with this. And the point is, 1 in 5 or 1 in 6 people are considered mentally ill in this country. Okay? And whether it's, a number of, whether it's schizophrenia, whether it's autism, whether it's whatever it is, and that we don't help them. The 2 things that we don't do in this country are basically help our veterans coming home from war, and we don't help our own citizens here as far as the mental health system. And there are too many cracks and breakdowns that would indicate that this is another one that went through the cracks. And my feeling is that we as a nation need to do something about the mental health system in this country. Because if we don't, we are going to continue to have we're going to continue to have these mass shootings. And what ends up happening is, every time that there is a mass shooting, every single time. Okay? Everybody says, well, gun control, gun control, gun control. Here's the thing. I am for the Second Amendment. Okay? I am for the right to bear arms. However, I don't think the founding fathers back in 1776 thought that having an AR-15 or an M16 in your home with 500 rounds in body armor was what they were talking about. Okay? I'm absolutely for the Second Amendment. Okay? However, I think what needs to happen is that there needs to be moderation in this country. And that is the problem. There's too much excess. Okay? And that being said, we are at a point where anybody can go into a gun shop, okay, like this guy here, okay, and buy 1,000 rounds of ammunition and request, and he didn't get it, but request body armor. And had he not gotten the body armor, I wonder if he would have been able to make the purchase. So getting back to what I was saying, I believe that if you want to have a handgun in your home, that is absolutely your right as a United States citizen. Okay? My thing is, you had better know how to use the handgun. Okay? Don't just have it in your home and not know how to use it. And this is where education comes in. And I think that, I don't know all the logistics of getting handguns and everything else, but I do know about the background checks. And that being said, we need to have a better, more stringent, more reliable way for background checks in this country. So somebody like, Mr. Matif here, okay, can't walk into a gun shop, Lotus Gunworks, okay, and be able to purchase this. And I just don't understand how this government and legislative body can just sit there and I won't say do nothing because I know that Washington, everybody thinks Washington is a bunch of red tape and everything else. I understand that. My point is, this seems to happen once every 6 months or once in too soon. Okay, and every single time the wheels are turning, well, you find all this stuff out after the fact about the shooting, whether it's the guy in Newtown, whether it's the one in Aurora, whether it's the one in Fort Hood, whatever. And there needs to be something done to the point where I'm not saying you can't get a gun, but if you are mentally incapable of doing something, then I don't think guns should be, it boggles my mind. And this is where background checks come in. These gun shops, these gun companies, and everything else, look, they are out there to make a buck, okay? They're putting their product out there for you to buy. I completely respect that. It's called capitalism, okay? And last time I checked, that was still legal. But what my problem is, okay, is the fact that Joe Schmo can go walk into Acme Gun Shop, okay, and buy an AR-15 because it doesn't need a license, and buy 500 rounds, okay? Whether he needs it or not, that citizen doesn't need an AR-15. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. What is he doing going in and buying? Whether he's 25 years old and a Caucasian male, or whether he's 45 years old and of another nationality. People do not, citizens in this country do not need assault rifles. They don't. They don't need them. Okay? The only thing they would need them for is war. And Last time I checked, we're at peace in this country. Now you say, well, we have homegrown terrorists and everything else. But here's the thing. You don't need an AR-15 in your house. You don't. If you're a United States citizen, and listen, I say this, the majority of people that are either going to listen to this or that they don't have those kind of guns in their home. I understand that. Okay? They might have like a 22 or a 9mm, and that's fine. But to me, as a citizen, you do not need an AR-15 in your home. Plain and simple. You don't need to know how to shoot. You don't need to know skeet shooting or for sport or anything else. Okay? This is a very delicate situation because every single time we have a mass shooting of with a lot of fatalities like this, everybody comes up and says, hey, rah rah rah, well, this is what we need to do. And what needs to happen is there needs to be compromises. There needs to be compromises with the gun companies. There needs to be compromises with background checks. There needs to be compromises with these gun shows. And they need to all come together, sit down in a room, lock the door, throw away the key, and say, how are we going to fix this so this doesn't happen again? And you say, well, part of it's the gun control in the government. But once again, what I was just saying is, as a United States citizen, I personally do not need to have an AR-15 in my home to feel safe. I don't. If I know how to shoot a gun, then fine. And I think that if we as a country, we're going to be dealing with this again for another month. And it is a shame that we have to go through this again and again and again and again. And I just feel like as a country, we need to come together and say, look, stop. And this is how we need to do it. And it blows my mind that we haven't figured out yet how to do this. And it's one of those things that it needs to be done because more people will die. And, more stringent laws need to be passed and everything else. And it needs to get to the point, I hate to say it, but look what happened after 9/11. Look at what happened after 9/11. How fast that reaction was. Within months, the TSA, the Transportation Security Administration, was passed. Okay? You go to an airport now, even 15 years later, okay, you're not allowed, you have to take your shoes off, you have to take your battery out of your laptop, you will no longer, and you can no longer, bring more than 3 ounces of a liquid on a flight, okay? And we still have this today. Now, if we're doing that 15 years later, and that was enacted, God, I don't know, right after 9/11, I don't know the exact date off the top of my head, but I know it was very soon after. Why is it that we have to have tragedy after tragedy after tragedy after tragedy, and we still can't get anything done? And for me, that's the most heartbreaking thing, especially because you have these families, 50 families now, that lost a loved one. And, it goes back to, like I said, it goes back to our mental health system, okay? Our mental health system is broken in this country, and we can't seem to fix it. Because, for whatever reason, every single time that there's a mass shooting, it always comes out after the fact that he had childhood problems, he would get in fights, he would be suspended from school, and, okay, all the signs were there. All the signs were there. And we can't do anything about this. And I just think that something needs to be done and done fast. And if we don't, mark my words, we're going to have another shooting. And, I mean, this was the most prolific and deadliest shooting in the country. In the history of this country, in 300 years. And it blows my mind that after 300 years, we still can't figure out what to do. And by the way, I want to apologize for me going off on tangents. This entertainment completely took a backseat to what happened this week. As I said before, I'm sorry. I want to express my heartfelt condolences to all the families that lost a loved one, and even those that got wounded, because it was a tragedy what took place. And it's just, we need to do something in this country. And if it doesn't, then it's going to keep going. And that's too bad, because we shouldn't have people, private citizens, we shouldn't have them have AR-15s or assault rifles. I mean, there has been too much gun violence in this country over the past 30 or 40 years to even be known. And it's sad. Whether it's with gangs, whether it's domestic, whether it's mass shootings, whatever it is. I'm not saying eliminate guns completely. However, education needs to be done. And the mental health system needs to be fixed. And everything else. And they need to start somewhere. You have to crawl before you can walk. Well, take baby steps. And these baby steps may help you save lives down the road. That if there's really no other way to describe what happened, and I think that we're going to continue to talk about this in the country, and we're going to try and get in his head, and we're going to try and figure out why he did what he did, and everything else. But in the long run, I don't know if it will help, because it seems to be the same pattern over and over and over again. We see these people that were aggressive as young adults, and we see these people that got in a lot of fights. We see these people that wanted to know about maybe the law. Profiling, believe it or not, 25 years ago there was never a thing called profiling, and now we're able to profile people, and that has some, just like anything else, it has positive aspects and negative aspects. And what we're doing or going to be doing over the next several days, and we are even right now, is profiling this guy. Why did he do what he did? Why did he turn to ISIS? Okay. Why did he basically want to kill people? And until we find out that, we're never going to really understand. So, ISIS will be a continuing problem for us as a country. And if we don't get a grip on this and them, we're going to lose a lot more lives. So, that being said, once again, thank you for letting me rant, because this has been on my mind for the last couple of days. I just didn't know how to say it. It's, so, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to read the names of everybody that we lost in the shooting. And as I read the names, you're going to understand the number of names and how this basically, how big this was, because you really can't get gravity of it. And as I was writing down the names, it was just mesmerizing. And the other thing you're going to see too here is there are a lot of lives that were snuffed out. A lot of lives in their 20s and 30s that will never see, you know, their daughter, they'll never have a wedding day. They'll never see a college graduation. They'll never have children. They'll never be able to do these things because there was one man that decided, I am going to take your life. And they had no control over it. And I'm glad he's dead, and I want to say that outright. I'm glad he took his own life because I thought a trial would have been a waste. I mean, I know we have due process in this country, but I'm glad he's dead because it saves everybody a lot of pain. And I realize, look, I realize it's the easy way out, but at the same time, if it can give them any sort of closure to the families that lost somebody, then absolutely. Okay, on that note, what I'm going to do. And by the way, first of all, I want to apologize if I do mispronounce any of the names. Please bear with me. So I'm not trying to butcher anybody's name, but I'm going to do the best I can. So, in memory of all those that were lost. You're Mary Rodriguez Sylvan, 24. Jonathan Kemalek, 25. Geraldo Ortiz Jimenez, 25. Paul Terrell Henry, 41. Corey James Cannell, 21. Martin Torres, 33. Juan Chavez Martinez, 25. Gerald Arthur Wright, 31. Jason Josephat, 19. Javier George Reyes, 40. Christopher Joseph Sephanes, 24. Eric Ivan Ortiz Rivera, 36. Brendan Lee Marquez McCool, 49. Frank Hernandez, 27. Frankie Jimmy DeJesus Velasquez, 50. Juan Carlos Mendez Perez, 35. And this is a true shame here. Captain Antonio Davon Brown, 29. Daryl Ramon Burke, 29. Simon Corello Fernandez, 31. Oscar Montero, 26. Akia Murray, 18. Leroy Valentin Fernandez, 25. Amen Valentino, 35. Amanda Avila, 25. Mercedes Marisol Flores, 26. Luis Omar Capo, 30. 20, I'm sorry. Eddie Justice, 30. Miguel Jareno, 30. Shane Tomlinson, 33. Peter Gonzalez Cruz, 22. Gilberto Ramon Silva Menendez, 25. Edward Sotomayor, 34. Juan Ramon Guerrero, 22. Christopher Lieneman, 32. Telvin Eugene Crosby, 25. Stanley Amandor III, 23. Anthony Luis Della, 25. Kimberly KJ Morris, 37. Luis Golema, 22. Enrique Rios, 25. Angel Canelo Pedro, 28. Joel Reyes, Joel Rayon Panela, 32. Alejandro Martinez, 21. Rodelov Arlia, 33. Luis Daniel Condi, 39. Juan Pablo Rivera Vasquez, 37. Decla Deandra Dayton, 32. And finally, Jean Carlos Neves Rodriguez, 27. So those are all the names that we lost in the shooting. And so, I also wanted to inform listeners that so we're going to be going through a couple changes. C&E is going to be changing its name. And we're going to be rebranding it. As we go along, we'll definitely let you in on it. And just to, keep you informed. So once we get a new page and we get a new Twitter and we get a new, all those social media things up, we'll definitely let you know and what those are. For the time being, we are C&E and we're going to stay C&E. So, and like I said, this week, this needed to be done. Next week, we are going to try and we will figure something out, so don't you worry, but we will have it one out. Okay, for David Caduto, I'm David Caduto, and you've been listening to C&E. You've been listening to C&E. You've been listening to C&E. You've been listening to C&E.